Hi, what if I told you that one bass, one effect box, and one patch could nail just about all your onstage and home recording needs? No gear swaps, no tap dancing on the pedals, no excuses. I'm Dr. Bass, and I've spent years changing my rigs and gear, and my conclusion? Less is more. Today, I'm showing you how to do it. Stick around because by the end of this, you'll believe one simple rig can do it all. Let's dive in. So, one bass, one box, one patch. Can it be done? Of course, otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here. Okay, we begin with the one guitar. Okay, I would recommend a 5 string bass. Why? Because you can do everything on it. You don't have to keep swapping your bass between sets. You don't have to start tuning down to D or C or B or whatever you want. You can do everything on the one bass. Okay, we've got that out of the way. I'll make another video on how easy it is to change from 4 strings to 5 strings. The next thing is, let's just get it up here, 2 pickups. Now, I'm not saying that basses with only one pickup are bad. No, there's some brilliant basses with just one pickup. They sound marvelous and they do what they do. But in this video, we're talking about a bass that can do just about anything. Now, with 2 pickups, you can blend the sound between the 2 pickups, obviously. And the difference in sound is enormous. So, and if I just stop there and just go forward to the tone control, whenever I set up my sound as on a passive bass, I have the tone control in the middle. And the reason for this is once you've set up the sound that you want on the pickups, it's amazing how much variation you get just by turning the tone knob. You turn up the treble if you want to play some slap, and you just roll it off if you want to play other things like jazz or rock or whatever. That is what I recommend there. Now, you're looking at these pickups and you're thinking, but they're single coil pickups. What if I've got a humbucker bass? Well, I have an Gibson EB14 as well with big fat humbuckers. And I can do exactly the same kind of twiddling with the tones as I can on this. One of my favorite sounds, for example, is to use the bridge pickup with the bass rolled, with the treble rolled back and make a Jacko kind of sound. And this works perfectly on my Gibson bass as well, with humbucker pickups, so nothing to worry. Okay, so we've talked about what you do with a passive bass. I'm recommending 5 strings, 2 pickups. Doesn't matter if they're humbucker or single coil. You might have an active bass, and this bass here also has an active part. You can turn it on or off. That is very interesting because you can, obviously with the bass and the treble, you can turn them up, you can turn them down. I will show you a little bit later when we get on to EQing that if you just roll off the bass a bit and the treble a bit, that's a good start. And what you do is you boost the high mids. Now, you might say that's not exactly what you want, but the reason for boosting the high mids is because you need to be heard. You need to cut through the mix. And rumbling bass and clattering treble don't cut through the mix because there's a lot of things happening there from before. You need the high mids. So if you're going to choose an active bass, you need to choose one where you can adjust the mid frequency. So on this bass, for example, not only can you control the boost or the cut on the middle frequencies, but you can actually choose where the middle frequency is. And as I just mentioned, you should boost the high mids. Okay, so that's a bass that does everything. 5 strings, 2 pickups, and if it's active, make sure you can adjust the mid frequency yourself. Onto the box. Okay, here is a typical box. It's a head rush, but it doesn't have to be. There's loads of these small boxes on the market. For example, Helix do one. It's really good, and they are excellent quality. Now you'll notice that it's got 3 switches here and a pedal here. And what I'm going to say now is that actually the pedal is the most important thing. There are a lot of these boxes on the market that don't have a pedal. Why does it have to have a pedal? Because you put if you're using it as a volume control, which I always do, it has to be at the end of the chain. If you adjust your volume level on the guitar, that changes the tone as well, because the signal suddenly is a lot weaker or stronger as it's going through all your tone shaping controls. So a little box like this with a volume control. I'm going to turn it on in a second just to show you the important things there. You'll notice that there's only 3 buttons here, foot switches. And that is because most of what I'm going to show you in the tone shaping part stays on all the time. And as a bass player, you don't really need to switch on or off all that many extra effects once I've shown you what the core tone controls are. So let's put this down on the bench, turn it on, and continue with the demonstration. Okay, so let's have a look at our universal patch. Okay, now I've mentioned about the volume pedal and how important that is. And you'll see here in my chain that the volume pedal comes last. It comes after amp simulation. It comes after everything. And the reason for that is if you start adjusting your volume before going into all of the effects and all the boxes and everything, you're going to affect your tone. So, it's a bit silly setting up your tone and then destroying it immediately if you either turn up or down your volume on the guitar. Anyway, so let's jump in here. You'll see that I only have one of these foot switches assigned, and that's because I only have the chorus on occasionally. So why don't I need a switch on the others? Well, this is the core of your tonal setup. You don't have to turn these things on or off. I start with a very light compression. Why? Well, light compression is nice, whatever you're doing. There isn't a situation where it isn't a good idea. Now, the actual center of everything is here. Now, whatever style of bass you play, it doesn't matter. You've got to cut through the mix. You've got to be heard. So if you like a lot of bass on your tone, a lot of treble, you still have to cut through. So the core of your tone is something like this. Anything on the treble side here won't be heard anyway. That's a volume on the side there. It's not a frequency. And so there's no point really in producing anything over this frequency here. You'll see that these are really, in essence, the high mids. That's what cuts through the mix. Now on the bottom end also, we don't want too much rumbly kind of bass because again, you lose definition, you won't cut through the mix, everything sounds like mud. So it doesn't really matter how you do it, it will be something like this. And other adjustments you can make elsewhere, but this will always be the core of your tone because you have to cut through the mix. Now I've said it enough times now, we can go further. Okay, the next comes chorus, which I can turn on and off, as I've shown. And the next one might surprise you. It's a little bit of reverb. Why? Well, you won't even hear it when the band is playing, as I said, a little bit. But if suddenly the bass is playing alone, it just adds a titsy bit more sparkle to it. Very, very nice. Okay, so that's why we don't need to turn anything on or off because everything's on all the time and it is about right for about anything. If you want to add distortion or any other kind of things, or octave pedals or whatever, you can do that here and assign the pedals. It doesn't matter. Perfect for whatever you want to do. The point being is that I promised you a patch which would suit everything, and that's it. Now, at the end, we have the amp simulation and the speaker simulation. For home recording, perfect. Going straight into the desk, perfect. If you're going to plug into the return part of the effects loop in an amplifier, cut out the speaker simulation. And if you're going to go into the front end of the amplifier, cut out the amp simulation also. Now you're saying, why would I go into the front end of an amplifier when I have this box here? Well, it's not so daft, because this part here is all of the tone shaping. And if you go into the front end of an amp, then you can adjust to the house. So when you do your sound check and you've got the perfect sound, then the hall is filled up with 2,000 people. Suddenly, for example, all of the treble disappears completely. Well, it's perhaps not too important for your bass playing, but if you're slapping and there's no slap coming out, just thud, you might want to, again, push up those high mids even more. So that's it. One bass, one box, one patch, you're good to go. So let's sum up. It's really easy. One bass, it needs to be a bass with 2 pickups. And preferably 5 strings, and because then you don't have to swap basses, tune down in the course of a set or whatever. 5-string bass, 2 pickups, and if it's active, then you should be able to select the middle frequency. And here, as you heard, I suggest the higher mids as they cut through the mix. Excellent. Onto the one box. One box. It needs to be the type where you can decide what kind of pedals you want in the chain, and it has to have a volume pedal. You can use it for other things, but I suggest that you just use it as a volume pedal. And as regards the patch, the core parts are light compression, and then the real workhorse of the tone is an equalizer, where you're toning down on the bass and the treble and boosting the high mids. If you have an active bass, and I've already done this on the bass controls, then you don't need the equalizer. And then a touch of reverb for those times when you're playing alone, and you don't have to worry about it messing up the sound or your tone when the band is in full swing, because you just won't hear it unless you overdo it, of course. And then you've got some foot switches to switch on and off any extra effects that you need. But with the core tone shaping in place, then you've got everything you need. Good to go. One bass, one box, one patch. Good luck.